Okay, so you're at the point where your teacher's giving you harder equations. You started off with something nice like this, which you learned, you got it, you're like 3 steps, all right, done, got it, getting better at it. You started with these, okay, this is just combining like terms and a little bit of the distributive property thrown in here. Got it, great, grand. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how these two all of a sudden get merged together when you make this hard equation. So what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to review both of these, and then from there we'll choose the harder one. So first things first, here we go. So what I've got going on here is it says 3x plus 5 equals 5x plus 17. So what I want to do is I want to think about combining my like terms. The problem is there's an equivalent sign, okay, an equal sign down the middle, okay, separating my terms of my like terms. So what I need to do is I need to make my like term, okay, inadvertently what we're going to do is we're going to play a game of make it disappear, because in an equation what we know is that if we do something to one side, we must equally balance the other side by doing the same thing. So if I want, for instance, this 5 to go away, okay, I know that if I turn this into 0, and the way you turn positive 5 into 0 is just simply adding a negative 5, right? Well, the game of equations is nice because what that does is it says to me, okay, I got to do that on the other side. It's a matter of keeping it balanced. So I got to come over here and now write minus 5 as well. So on the left-hand side, what it does is it gets rid of the 5 from being there, and it just leaves me now with that 3x equal to, now, because I had to subtract 5 from both sides, I now just make sure, okay, that I simplify this side by combining like terms. Well, 5x has no other x's over here, so I can't combine it. So that's just going to be 5x, okay? And then the next thing I look at is, okay, well, what like terms do I have? And the like terms I have are a 17 minus 5. A positive 17 minus 5 is going to be positive 12. All right? So from here, what I can go ahead and do, okay, is that now I can say, okay, well, I need this 5x to be with that 3x. So I need to make 5x go away. Well, I turn it again into 0. Well, how do I make 5x go away? Because I want it away from the 12. I want it away from this 12. Now, I don't want x's and 12s on the same side, so I want this to go away. So 5x goes away by making it 0, so minus 5x. Now that's nice because what I do to one side of the equation, right, this thing about equal signs, which is why I'm drawing this bar down the middle here, all right, is that I must, okay, do it to the other side. So I write minus 5x over here. All right, so now what I have is when I write the negative 5x over there, right, I've got like terms. So what is 3x minus 5x? Those combine to make negative 2x. That is going to be equal to the 5x's go away, and I'm left with 12. Now, what I'm left with is this negative 2x equals 12. So what I got to do is I got to divide that 12 into equal groups of 2, but they're going to be equal groups of negative 2. So I go ahead and divide by negative 2. Divide by negative 2, you get x is equal to negative 6, right? So you've learned this process. You're like, good, great, grand. So the next process that your teacher then throws in there is the distributive property. So you have this problem with distributive property. You may have learned this prior to learning this, so when I throw this back into an equation, that's where you get confused. But anyhow, we'll just review this very quickly. Distributive property is to share a value, okay, equally via multiplication. So this is negative 4 times 3x, which is negative 12x. This is negative 4 times, be careful, negative 5. Do not be the person who just drops a negative 5 here because it says minus there. That is absolutely and completely wrong. The way you figure out the sign that goes here, whether it's plus or minus, is by taking this sign and putting them together. When a negative and a negative merge, okay, through multiplication, they create an addition sign. So now I'm doing 4 times 5, which is 20. And then on the end, I bring this down, which is plus 2x. So now it's just a matter of combining like terms. I have a negative 12x, a positive 2x. That makes negative 10x. What I'm left with is my positive 20. So there's your quick review. All right, so let's merge this now into something new and a little bit harder. So your teacher may have started off light with this one, which is just the distributive property equal to something. So you go ahead and distribute. Okay, remember, it's just sharing it equally amongst multiplication. So that's 3x plus 15 equals this 4x minus 1. And now we're back to like we did before. So I'm going to go a little quicker through this one since we've already reviewed one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1. That leaves me with 3x plus 16 is now equivalent to 4x. So subtract 3x from both sides, subtract 3x, and I'm left with 16 is equivalent to nicely just x. And we're done. Okay? So that one's not so much harder. You were even fine with that one. Maybe it's this next type. So now all of a sudden you're like, bam, you get hit with this crazy equation. You're like, this makes no sense. What do I do? Well, what you need to remember is you need to take parts at a time. All right? So the part that I'm going to take at a time is, first off, you're always taught to look at any sort of grouping symbol. That's the first thing that should attract your eye. And the question is can I do x minus 4? You can't actually do it. They're not like terms. All right? So what you then ask yourself is, okay, well, how do I make those parentheses go away? And what you notice is you highlight this number out here, and you're like, oh, distributive property. Don't forget, whatever you do, that you need to include the sign that's out in front. All right? That is very, very important. So, and it is just the 2 that's out front. See this 5x right here? This is not inclusive, okay, of it. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go ahead and drop this guy down right away. Okay, it is not part of my property that I'm about to do. So now what I do is now I go through and utilize the distributive property. So there we go. So now it's -2 times a positive. Remember, the sign is created. Whatever I'm about to write behind this 5x is created by observing what is the sign of this and the sign of this combined together to make, and that's what I write down here. Well, a negative and a positive combine to make a negative. All right, and the negative they will make is a -2x. Again, don't be the person who drops this negative straight down. That is not what you need to do. You need to look at this sign and this sign and say, okay, what do those 2 make together? They make a positive through multiplication. And in this case, the 2 and the 4 will make it into an 8. So that is equivalent to 12 minus 4x. And now what you have is a problem that's a little bit more manageable. And what you need to now look for is, do I have like terms on the same side? So when I do that distributive property, you're going to create 2 new terms, and if you already have an additional term out front, you just need to check, are any of the new terms you created now like terms? And in this case, what we have is we have a 5x, and then it says -2x. So if I have these 2 things together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to condense these just into 1. So I condense them into 5 minus 2, which becomes 3x, plus 8 is now equivalent to 12 minus 4x. And what you have now is, what you see is that I got back to that original problem that you were like, I can do it from here. So it's just a matter of getting past that barrier so where you can get to having this original equation again. So now from here, I'm going to go ahead and start solving. So I'm going to do plus 4x to get that negative out of the way. So I'm going to do plus 4x, okay, plus 4x. The negative and the positive make 0 always. And I'm left with 3x plus 4x, which is 7x. This 8 had nothing to do with that combination, so I'm just bringing it down. Equals 12. Next step is to get that value out of there, so to make it -8. Remember, because we're in an equal sign, you got to keep it balanced, so I must write -8 over here. So that's now gone. These 2 things combine to make +4. I'm left with 7x equals 4, and you may ask yourself, well, 4 is not divisible by 7. That's okay. It means it's just a fractional amount. So your fraction is right here, so you just need to clean it up, in which you'll get x equals just 4/7. Now, I wouldn't write this one as a decimal, only because the decimal will be a non-repeating repeating decimal, but I would leave it more as just 4/7. All right, continuing on. So for this example, all right, the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take a look at this left side over here where it says 2 times the quantity of 3x plus 7 minus 8. I'm going to ignore the right side for now. I'll work on this side after I'm done doing this side. So when I do equations, I like to work on one side at a time. Once this side is simplified, then I will go worry about this side. So here we go. The first thing that I'll take a look at is this piece, because my eyes gravitate towards the parentheses, and I'm just going to get rid of the parentheses. So I noticed this is a distributive property, and I noticed that this -8 Okay, it has nothing to do with those parentheses, so I'm going to drop it down. So that's just me. I like to do that first. So I'm going to write this minus 8 directly below it. And then I'm going to do distributive property here. So 2 times 3, which is 6x, positive 2 times positive 7 will make a positive. And so the 2 times 7 will make 14. So I'm left with 6x plus 14 minus 8. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask myself, do I have any like terms? And in this case, I do have like terms. I have positive 14 and negative 8. Again, I'm looking at this without thinking of an equation. I'm just looking at this as just being an expression. So there is no need to be adding or subtracting anything different here into the problem. I'm just going to combine these two together as is in that box. If I want to type it in the calculator, I put 14 minus 8. And when I type that into the calculator, I get 6. Oops, sorry. Let me undo that. I get 6x. And 14 minus 8 is positive 6. Okay. And now I look at that and I go, okay, I can't simplify that any farther. The first one has a 6x. This has no x's, so I can't combine them. So now I'm going to go over to this side. So before I go ahead and do there, I will put an equals after the 6. Okay, in line with my other equal sign. I like to keep my things in line, vertically in line, all right? And the next thing I'll now do is I'll go to the other side and I'm going to look at, okay, there are no parentheses, but there is a 3x and there is a negative 6x. Again, make sure you're reading that sign. So when I read this, skip over plus 9. So skip over this plus 9. I'm just going to drop it down. So this is just a positive 9 down here, all right? So this is 3x minus 6x, and 3 minus 6 is negative 3. So I'm going to write negative 3, and there are x's, all right, just there in front. So I have negative 3x plus 9. So when I go ahead and solve this, all right, now because I have a simplified statement on the left, okay, and a simplified expression on the right, now for me to combine x's with x's, now I must utilize properties of equality. And properties of equality must just simply state that what I do to one side, I must do to the other. And simultaneously, I'm trying to get rid of things. So I'm trying to create zeros. So to create a 0, if I want to take negative 3 and make that 0, I use positive 3. So positive 3x. So those two things together make 0, so they don't exist anymore. So again, what I make sure of is that what I do to one side, so if I do that to the right side of the expression, I must do that to the other expression. So I must add 3x to 6x plus 6. Okay, when I combine the like terms on this side, I'm now left with 6x, okay, plus 3x, which makes 9x. Don't forget this plus 6 drops down, so plus 6 equals 9. So then from here, what I want to do is I want to combine, okay, my positive 6 and my 9. So to combine them, all right, I need to make positive 6 into 0. Positive 6 becomes 0 by minusing 6. So if I minus 6 from the left, I minus 6 from the right. And I'm now left with 9x is equivalent to, well, 9 minus 6 is 3. So the last step to clean this problem up will be, okay, I have 3 things to share amongst 9, so I must divide that 3 into 9 groups. So divide that group into 9, and I'm left with, over here, x equals, so I'm going to simplify this. I'm not going to just write it in there as a calculator and get a decimal. I'm going to simplify it. So 3 over 9 simplifies to 1 over 3. And my final answer is just x equals 1/3. So I hope this helped with these. This is just how you do the problems, but this is a lesson video, so it is going to be a little bit longer than the normal video of just doing a problem. So I hope that helps.